All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lance Cade Tribute Show. I am your host, the Pacific Coast player, J.T Evans, tonight alongside my co-host, Anthony Missionary Thomas. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good there, JT. Just pretty much I guess we're looking forward, kind of, to discussing a little bit about Lance Cade's career, obviously, and it's, for the most part, I'm doing all right tonight now.
Well, it's kind of sad Lance died. We had a couple people that joined us, and we're going to go to them here in just a little bit with some pre-records. People that joined us were Pete Gass, formerly of the Mean Street Posse, as well as the HWA, Heartland Wrestling Association, trainer and owner, Les Thatcher. We're going to get to those interviews just a little bit. But, I want to talk about his career a little bit before we go ahead and kick into those interviews. A lot of people don't know this, but before Lance went into the WWE, he actually was wrestling overseas with current WWE superstar Bryan Danielson as a team for Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, and they worked as a tag team for a while before separately going their ways. When Bryan Danielson left, Cade stayed in FMW and faced off against ECW wrestler Balls Mahoney. Did you know that?
No, but you know what? That doesn't surprise me. I mean, anybody that has any idea about, Japanese pro promotions, FMW, Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, was probably one of the most hardcore, violent, ECW-esque promotions in Japan at the time, or I should say vice versa, depending on, how you look at it. And, that was definitely a way, pretty much people in FMW become great wrestlers, so.
Yeah, not only was he in FMW, but after leaving FMW, he got signed not too long after that, and got signed to WWE, went down to Memphis Championship Wrestling, where he met Pete Gass, and we're going to hear some stories from Pete Gass here in just a little bit. And then after leaving Memphis Championship Wrestling, he moved on to the HWA, of course, the Heartland Wrestling Association, where he would team with Surfer Cody Hawk right before Cade joined the WCW wrestling camp in Heartland's Invasion Angle. This was right around the same time WWE had their Invasion Angle, but Heartland did the same thing with the WCW guys.
Right, and, we also have to talk about the fact that the guy who trained him is the legendary Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and that was back in, I believe it was 98, 97 is when he was starting his training with Shawn, and he made his actual debut in 99 before he went to Japan. But, you can definitely tell, it's definitely sad that, a student of Shawn Michaels, a guy who was in and out of WWE, coming up through the ranks, coming up through Japan and Heartland and everything else like that, obviously left us so soon.
Yeah, he was what, 29 years old? That's pretty sad. People have posted on the internet their thoughts and opinions, both professional and unprofessional opinions. We're not going to get into that tonight. Tonight's about celebrating the life that was Lance Cade. I don't know if you knew this, but at one time he was actually managed by Kenny Bolin. Really?
Oh, was that when he was OVW with, well, I was about to say Chuck Palumbo.
When he was in OVW? Yeah, it was when he was in OVW. He found Rene Dupree, and they both joined Bolin Services.
Oh, okay. That's
so,
legendary OVW stable for the most part, Bolin Services.
Oh, yeah. Bolin Services have been around for a while, but, we covered a little bit about Memphis Championship Wrestling. Why don't we go ahead and get to the Pete Gass interview? How's that sound?
That's fine by me.
All right, you're going to hear from Pete Gass, and we'll be right back after that. We have 1/3 of the Mean Street Posse, Pete Gass. Pete, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Could be doing better. Wish we were speaking on different terms. Of course, we are here mourning the loss or celebrating the life that was Lance Cade, so to say. And we've got a couple of questions for you, so if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. It's just really sad to see I lost another good friend of mine.
Yeah, they're falling way too young. Of course, he passed away before even he hit 30. And my first question for you is, being that you knew Lance Cade, what would you say that he wanted the fans to remember him most for?
I just think that he was the type of guy that wanted to be known for his work ethic. He's a hard worker, and ever since he was 19 years old, and he came into Memphis. I remember his first day there. I looked at this kid and I was like, wow, you know, he's got all the physical tools that he needed, and you know, he looked like a young Bradshaw ready to come up, and you know, he has that same body type, and you know, he was physical, and he was a great athlete, and I think that's what he wanted people to remember him by. And I wish he got to show people what he really was made of, and became a high-profile guy, because he had all the physical tools to do that.
Yeah, I remember actually seeing him before he even made WWE TV. He was on the road, and it was one of the first times WWE actually came back to Portland, Oregon, after they had listed the band, and he was here as Garrison Cade, and I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no doubt. The ability he had, he could jump through the roof. I mean, he was a 6'5", 6'6". I don't know his exact height. I know he's taller than me. Just a big kid with a love and a passion for wrestling, and just admired the hell out of Shawn Michaels, and always talked him up. And he was one of Shawn's first students, and couldn't say enough good things about Shawn. And I mean, he had a lot of positive energy in him, and it was a pleasure to be around.
Now, you know, you seem to have a lot of fond memories of him. What is one thing that you're gonna hold dear in your heart the rest of your time? As usual, I have a good story. One of the times we had a road trip for MCW, Memphis Championship Wrestling. We were down in Memphis, and we had a road trip. We're down in Louisiana, and I decided that I was going to play a prank on Lance, because Lance and I had a good relationship, and I thought I'd rib him and play this prank on him. So what I did was, I had my bag, and I asked him to go get my can of tobacco out of the bag. And he went and got it for me, and then I went and buzzed Terry Golden, who was running MCW at the time. I said, listen, I'm going to play a rib on Lance. I'm going to tell him, I'm going to start making a stink that my wallet's stolen. So with this, I go through the whole act. I'm ranting and raving, saying that we're supposed to be a family in this locker room. Who the F took my wallet? Someone better just fess up and just give it back, and I won't press charges. So I'm going through this whole rant. About 20 minutes later, Terry Golden grabs Lance and pulls him into another locker room that no one uses. And in there, we had gotten three police officers. And so Lance walks in, and he doesn't know what to do. It's me, the police officers, Terry Golden, and Lance. And Terry starts talking to him about my wallet. And I just turned to him, and I said, hey, Lance, just give me the fucking wallet, man. We all know you took it. You were in my bag, blah, blah, blah. And we're supposed to be a family. So I start ranting and raving, and I go into the bathroom or the spot room, and I'm trying hard not to laugh. I'm trying to keep a straight face the best I can. So then he's trying to state his case and the whole thing, and I come back out, and I'm like, I thought we were friends. I can't believe this. If you needed money that bad, you could have came to me. I would have gave it to you. Like, he was going through this whole thing. So finally, the police officers, this is going on for like 15, 20 minutes. He's trying to plead his case. So the bullshit, they go, and the cops decide it's time to cuff him. So they start grabbing him, put your hands behind your head, and he goes into a panic, and he lets out a scream, Terry, I'm being set up! And it was just like, as soon as he yelled that, like, no one could hold it back anymore. The five of us started cracking up laughing, and all I could do was give the kid a hug. I waited for the longest time for him to get me back on this rib, and he never got me back. I thought he was going to do it immediately, but he never did. But he was that type of kid. He went along with it. He would never do something like that. It just made it more fun. But he was the type of guy you can joke around with, and it was just one of my dear moments for him. That's a funny story. Now, if you were to write a book about Lance's life, what would the title be?
Wow, this is sounds pretty deep. Wow, I would say dedicated. That's a good one. He was dedicated to wrestling would be the title, because he was. He was a kid that came straight out of high school. He went straight into wrestling. Wrestling was his life. He did. I mean, I remember being in Memphis, going to schools on. We would have class all day Thursday in the ring and bumping around, and he was always trying to perfect something and try to work hard, and he always kept his nose clean, and he was always he was dedicated to the sport. He watched tapes for hours and hours, and like I said before, his love for Shawn Michaels, and he, I mean, when I say he used to talk about it, and you see it in his eyes when he talked about Shawn, the passion that he had for Shawn, and how highly he thought about Shawn Michaels was just, I mean, yeah, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it, how he really felt about Shawn and the actual business itself.
Now, my co-host, Anthony Missionary Thomas, has a couple questions. So, Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Pete. I actually wanted to know, how did you guys become friends? Like, when did you guys, when was the first time that you guys crossed paths and you guys became friends?
It was the summer of 2000. We had been, the Missionary Posse had been in the business. We had been sent to Memphis in May of 2000, and I think shortly after, maybe 2 months later, maybe it was July, I think, Brian Daniels,
mm-hmm.
he came in, Brian Kendrick, and Lance. They came, and another guy, his name was Shooter Schultz. They all came, the four of them came in from Shawn's school, and they had been signed to developmental contracts. And ever since then, I've known Lance. The last time I saw Lance was at the 15-year anniversary of Raw, when I got the honor to do that up in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And he and I actually spent a lot of time, me, him, and Brian, spent a lot of time before the doors opened. A lot of the guys hang out in the seats where the crowd sits and just talk and, just kind of catch up. And
mm-hmm.
He introduced me to a bunch of guys, and guys that are current that I hadn't met yet. And it just, it was nice. I mean, so to answer your question, it's been since probably June or July of 2000.
Oh.
I've known him.
Now, I'm sure, over that time, obviously, many years, what was like one of the favorite matches of Lance that you saw? And you went, wow, this guy's got talent.
I'll be honest with you, the best match I saw I saw the one with him and Shawn, which I thought it meant a lot to him. I know. I wasn't there for it. So something like that I know was special to his heart. But to be honest with you, I've seen him do matches in Memphis that were just, he had a match against Joey Ass, which was off the charts. And they had tables, ladders, chairs, and there was blood. This kid, like I said, when I said before, he was dedicated. And, he loved his family, and he loved the business. But to answer your question, I guess I'd have to say the match with Shawn, just because I know how much that meant to him, because that was his mentor.
Right.
I guess I'll say that. But like I said, I've seen matches with him in Memphis, and I've been in matches with him in Memphis, and I'll never forget him. He was a great kid.
Yeah, pretty much. The Shawn Michaels matches obviously is the highlight of his own personal career. I can definitely see that. What kind of impact did Lance Cade have on the people around him?
Lance, I mean, what you're talking about, I don't know if you're talking about at the WWE or if you're talking about even down in, Jonesboro, Arkansas, where there's, you get these matches where there's some matches in Arkansas we wrestled in front of like 6 people.
Yeah.
But he always got a reaction, and he knew how to fire up a crowd if he was a babyface and get people to hate him if he was a heel. I mean, he knew how to work the crowd. He was, like I said, he was a student of it, and I mean, it's great to talk about Lance the wrestler, because Lance the wrestler he worked hard at it.